Hi, you guys. It's Susie from Empty Nest Blessed, and I am so excited to be here today with Jeff Cory, who is the author of Super Aging. Super Aging is one of the absolute best books I've ever read on positive, joyful, thorough ways to age. It covers a multitude of areas of aging that are important, and Jeff agreed to speak with us about his book, and I'm so grateful. So welcome, Jeff.
Thanks,
Thank
Susie.
you.
Great to be here.
Thank you for joining me. Okay, well, first of all, I want to know what prompted you to write Super Aging, and tell us a little bit about you and why you decided it was necessary.
Well, I spent about 30 years of my career working in senior living, working with seniors. A joy, I think, that began growing up next door to my grandma. And so I always had a passion for older people. And again, this is sort of my observations of watching people who finished well, who've led extraordinary lives and just didn't stop in retirement. That they, as you said, they knew there was more joy and fulfillment and purpose and meaning. And so this is hopefully a positive spin on aging. We read a lot about negative stereotypes about aging, as you know. And so this is a positive, hopefully uplifting book.
Well, that's what I loved about it, is it was so positive and purpose-driven. It just motivated me and encouraged me on my own journey. So thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so why don't you start off and explain to us what is super aging? Give us a good working definition.
Well, super aging is looking at life, I think, in a different mindset. Looking at what the positive viewpoints of aging are, not the grumpy old men. You know that movie with Walter Matthau?
I don't want those.
Yes, it was, and that's what people often think of when they think of aging. But you know, there's a lot more meaning and purpose. Hopefully, we can give you the tools here to see what how to make your life more valuable as you age.
I love that. Okay, well, you talk in the book about a super aging framework.
Right.
Could you break that down for us? And I guess those are all the areas we need to be concerned about as we age.
Sure. Well, it starts with mindset. It starts with having a positive view on life, taking each day and the blessings we have, and working from there. It's looking at your health and wellness. It's looking at your finances. It's looking at relationships and community. I think that's often something that we forget. As we age, we need to have those connections with people. It's so important. It's looking at mental health, and as we've gone through COVID, we see how important that is. People have been isolated, and that's the worst thing for a super ager. Super agers need to have connection and relationships and those sorts of things. It's thinking about your legacy. What do you want people to say when you've left this world, that you've made a difference in people's lives and that sort of thing. So it's a framework to build from each day, taking a little piece of that life and making it a little better.
I love that. Okay, is there any one of those that is more important than the others, or would you say they're equally important?
Well, I think, again, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. My mom always taught me that. So that's something you really need to work on and be purposeful about, and working on, your physical health, staying flexible and agility and strength training, all those sorts of good things, eating well. These are all habits you can start later in life. You can start today. You start where you're at and make each day a little better, putting together a plan. I think the thing that I've seen with people at super age, they have a plan. They don't just take every day as it comes. They've got a purpose and a meaning, and they look at the next 10 years, 20 years, and what's life going to look like. I meet with a lot of folks who've actually spent more years in retirement than they did in their career. And that was one of the purposes when I was reading this. It's like, okay, you're going to spend possibly 20, 30, 40 years in retirement. That's a good chunk of your life. And how do you want to make the most of it?
Yeah, well, you and I are the same in that. I feel that way too, that empty nesters have such a huge contribution to make, and that's a really, really important thing to have that kind of purpose. Okay, so at what age, so when I think of super aging, I'm 56, and I'm thinking like, oh, that's down the road for me. At what age do people need to be concerned with super aging? And then also I want to know, with super agers, is there a benefit in terms of longevity? Like if I really do the things that you suggest in here, is it really going to extend my life? What, tell me about that.
Well, I mean, we've all possibly read the book Blue Zones, and there's, studies and research that have been done about people in certain areas in the world that live longer, have longer, lives and live healthier lives, and what are the secrets of that? It's like I said, it's the health, it's the eating, it's the wellness, those sorts of things. You can start it wherever you're at. However, super aging has a lot to do with finances, and so a good portion of that, the younger you start, the better you will be. The longer expectancies, we need to have financial strength in our life. So if I have friends that say, hey, I started thinking about retirement in my 20s and put away my 403b and my retirement plans and my IRAs. But wherever you're at, you need to have a plan. And that's the most important part, especially a financial plan that will help you live that longer life and be able to do the things you really want to do.
I love that. I feel like as I've gotten into my 50s and as I saw my kids leave the nest, in some ways I've gotten more focused on that part of my life.
Sure.
I've become in some ways more flexible, just not having to deal with the demands of having children at home. On the other hand, as I've aged, I feel like I've gotten more set in my ways, like I want things the way I want them now. But you talk about in super aging the importance of flexibility as we age. So can you address that a little bit for us?
Well, life is always full of surprises. So we can plan as best we can, but there might be a health setback, there might be a family setback. We deal a lot of times with older people in divorce now. So there are things that you need to be flexible in life to enjoy it and not necessarily be so set in your ways or have a plan that when things go off course that you can't pull it back and find new meaning and new opportunities in life when life throws you a curveball.
That's good. Well, you have talked a lot in super aging about the importance of having a financial plan, and we just touched on it. It's something that I think so many people know they want to do, but it seems so tangible and challenging to go ahead and do it. So how would you advise people to get started, and tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think, in our society, American society, we tend to live beyond our means. And I know it sounds really boring and it sounds really mundane, but having a budget is a great starting place. And living within your means and setting aside money for retirement, setting aside money for those special things in life like travel and your bucket list is really important. But I meet with people all the time. They may be in their 70s, 80s, 90s that still live on a budget and they plan every penny. And I know it's kind of old-fashioned, but it really works.
Yeah, I like that. So included in financial planning would be making a plan for those that you're leaving behind when you're gone and things like that. Can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's having an estate plan is very important. Whether you're 40 or 50 or you're an empty nester, having an estate plan just in case of an emergency. We see sometimes that people have health issues and you need people in place to handle your finances and make healthcare decisions for you if you're ever unable to. You want to have a will or a trust, an estate plan that distributes your money to the people and places that you really find important. And so having a good estate plan is very important for people as they age, and again, plan for those times that that may come down the road that we're not necessarily eager to see.
That you have to be flexible for.
Right.
And I think it's so just giving a peace of mind when you have that financial portion in place. Don't you think it brings peace?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it just can help you rest and really focus on the other areas in the super aging framework.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we haven't talked about is, as you age, it should be a time of stress-free living or less stress in your life. And I think, again, if you have to worry about finances and you have to worry about, all those sorts of things that, that we can actually change by action, that's really important. So we want to take stress out of our life. Stress is really a killer.
And having a good plan will do that in all these areas. Okay, so you talk a lot about something that's so dear to me, which is really having purpose as an empty nester and as you age. And I think people can feel like, I've raised my kids, I did my job, I'm retired now, I've lost my moorings, I've lost my sense of purpose.
Right.
So what are your suggestions about how to find a sense of purpose as you age?
Well,
I get that question a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think, we all have passions and we all have a heart for something. And I think it's a great opportunity. We now have the time and the freedom as we retire and age to be able to do things and invest in people and invest in things that we maybe didn't have time to. So whether it's coaching a little league team or leading a Bible study or doing something that we find meaningful and investing in others, volunteering. We've got lots of hours to be able to volunteer and make the life of someone else much better, make the world a better place. So I think, again, retiring allows us that freedom to invest our lives in things that make a difference.
Yeah, that are meaningful.
Yeah.
And that's,
And I think,
gives you a
yeah,
sense of purpose.
I think, you know, you need a reason to wake up in the morning. My mom always told me that too. I learned a lot from my mother. I didn't necessarily
Mothers
ever
are the
tell
best.
her that, but yeah, you have to have a purpose for waking up in the morning. And that's what super aging's all about.
So you're an empty nester,
Yes.
like all of us. How are you personally doing in terms of your super aging plan?
Well, again,
That's
I'm
a
an
personal
empty
question.
nester, but I still work and I still find meaning and value in working and helping others and that sort of thing. But again, you're in a different stage of life where you do have the opportunity maybe to invest in other areas, you know, things that you've always wanted to do. Did you want to ever pick up a paintbrush and become an artist, or write a book, or start a website or a blog, or do something that, you know, hey, I sacrificed for my children, and now it's time for me to have some fun in life, not forgetting my kids or the grandkids, but just saying, hey, this is a time of life that I can really, I'm not done. I'm not finished.
I love that. Well, you have set a great example for all of us. Thank you. Thank you for writing Super Aging. Thank you for making it so positive, so purpose-filled, and so joyful. And you guys, if you have not read this book, go get a copy. I'm going to put a link in the comments, and you will love it. It will encourage your heart. It is very, very inclusive of everything we've talked about today. And thank you, Jeff, for
Thanks, Susie.
doing this.